Greetings, friend, and welcome to the Between the Covers podcast, where we are working every day to remove the self-limiting beliefs that are preventing us from becoming the heroes of our own stories. I'm Marcus Spard, and today I have my good friend Ben Gibson here for our hero study this month. Welcome, Ben.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us.
Sorry if we laugh. There are dogs in the room, and they're going to constantly be... I wasn't laughing at your thing at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
The auto happened to shake just as you started talking.
Oh, I know.
So they'll probably hear that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we have... You guys are used to hearing Odin on these episodes, and now one of his friends is over here, and the two of them just will not settle down, so... If that bugs you, I'm sorry. I still encourage you to stick around for this interview because it's going to be a really good one. But
what? We'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see if it's a good one.
So Ben is one of my good friends, also from the Fellowship of the Dice. He's actually the one who brought me into the group and was. It's a bit of an interesting story where...
How about I explain that story
Sure.
if you haven't already told it? So I'm a youth leader at the church I go to, and there's a family that was really interested. They had like 4 kids in the youth group at the same time, and they were all interested in playing, and there was a couple other kids that we'd throw in there that wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. Well, I, having played in the past, offered to run some games for them, run a campaign, and did the thing you're not supposed to do as a fresh DM, and said, "Yeah, I'll just let anybody join who wants to join." Got up to 10 people playing, not including me. That pushed my limits, but. One of the good things that came out of that was getting to meet Marcus through all that, because the family introduced Marcus to me and asked if he could join. Yeah, sure, why not? What's one more person to this 7-person game? And it just kind of went up from there. But it was all good fun when he was there. Lots of fun anecdotes from Anecdotes. I'm going to say all the wrong words. A lot of fun anecdotes from that campaign, which we're gonna in a slightly different vein, because you're not gonna be Dirty Hands Dirk again.
No.
But yeah, that was and from that it just kind of evolved to we broke it up to, because we had so many people, to multiple groups playing at kind of the same time, trying to do the same thing. That fell apart when COVID and lockdown happened, and I wanted to play with a much smaller, more intimate group, so I very much handpicked the people that I wanted to play with. Marcus was...
I was one of those people.
You were in the top 3 of that list. Him, my sister, and my best friend, John, who... I think you've interviewed his current fiance,
yep,
and we'll eventually interview him.
Yes.
So those were the 3 that I'm like, okay, these are the ones that I absolutely want to play with. And then it just so happened that their significant others ended up joining in. So it's right about the size that I like. Mm-hmm. Too many more, and then it gets a little weird for me. If there were a couple less, it would feel like the flow would be better in the games, but we wouldn't have as much fun because of everybody that's there.
Yeah.
But that's how we got introduced, and you know what? I'm now here at their house, and they gave me a key. So I can come in here and mess with them whenever I want. Not that I've ever done that.
Not at all.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Though he was really threatening to come in and replace the batteries on this poor Legend of Zelda tree ornament that we have.
It's going to happen.
It's
going to happen.
So the thing that I do for these episodes is I just have 6 questions that I like to ask, and we just kind of take the conversation wherever we're going to go, wherever it just leads.
Okay.
And so we'll just go ahead and ask the first one here, which you may have already touched on a little bit here. Just what are some brief snapshots of important moments in your life?
Being born. It's kind of important to be born to, have a life. No, but the way I grew up, where I lived far away from a lot of my friends, so it was very important for me whenever I did spend time with my friends to make the most of it and not waste any opportunity I was given to see my friends or hang out with them. I took every chance I could, because my closest friend lived 20 minutes away, but that's 20 minutes farmland time. It's not 20 minutes city time.
And considering I grew up with my best friend just like a 2-minute walk around the corner.
Yours was a 2-minute walk. Mine was a 20-minute drive.
Yeah, no, it's a big difference.
So we still saw each other regularly, but it was a lot harder to just be like, hey, I want to go hang out with him for the day. We had to. There was all my parents and their parents had to do all this back and forth. Oh, okay, blah blah blah, blah, and it took time. Relationships in my life have always been super important. I try not to take any of them for granted.
I've definitely experienced that.
I promise I'm not taking you for granted.
Yeah. No, there's this very amusing anecdote of this one time Ben and I were just talking, and he's like, I had made a comment about how I was just glad that you're my friend, and you're like, well, I hope we're friends, otherwise why am I putting all this effort into this relationship? And I'm like, well, yeah, if that's the case, why am I putting all this effort into this relationship? So it's something that the two of us have.
I probably wouldn't be here if we weren't friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, it is something where I personally have experienced that intentionality of wanting to make most of the time that we get to have. In fact, when we're done recording this podcast, we're going to go just on the other side of the wall and we're going to watch some more Bleach that Ben's been introducing us to, and it's actually been
have someone to watch it with me.
Yeah.
But okay, so some other important ones. So another big one, my parents did divorce when I was in middle school. The time's a little wonky for me. I think it was middle school. I can't remember if it was like 7th or 8th, if I was in 7th or 8th grade. So that also had an impact where, lived with dad, didn't get to see mom very often. We did the whole, my mom has a story she likes to tell where I was the typical boy. I didn't want to show any sort of affection to any of my parents. And she really wanted to say hi. So we came down to, rather than me getting on the bus to, say I love her and her to love me and give me a kiss and all that, because that was awkward and weird, being a high school boy. We gave each other thumbs up, and that was the I love you for that period of my life. So, yeah.
So I've been inadvertently saying that I love you whenever I give you a thumbs up.
Oh no, I've switched to this now.
Okay.
Which is, actual I love you.
Okay.
So, no, thumbs ups now, we're doing good.
Yeah.
But for a time that was the I love you sign, between me and my mom. Who, well, let's see, who's someone who helped me get where I am today, I think is question 3. Let's skip around. That would be my mother.
Okay.
Well, she's one of them. My mom and my dad, it's easy to say parents. I know not a lot of people can say their parents have helped them get to where they are today, but I know my parents have. Big, huge example is right now I am currently working for my mother as a dog groomer. I don't know where I'd be if she hadn't hired me and all of that. So parents are always going to be an easy one. So anyways, I'm mentioned that I'm a part of I'm a youth group leader at my church, and the youth pastor is Justin Porter is another person who's been a huge impact on my basically the last decade of my life, where I was very aimless in my late teens, early 20s. And then after talking with him, I wouldn't say everything got fixed, but things have seemed to align a little better in my life after that. So he's been a huge influence on where I am today, just the last 10 years. Kind of wish I would have met him when I was younger, but he was still living in California when I was in high school, so wasn't going to happen. He was never going to be my personal youth pastor. Which man, we're just skipping all around these questions here, because what's something in my life that I have to overcome. This is not something I shy away from, but it's not something I enjoy talking about, is pornography addiction. It's unfortunately something I was introduced to at an early age. My friend, we had a late start, and my friend came over, hey, I want to show you something on the computer, at age 12. 12 or 13 or something like that. Just when I was starting to get interested in girls. And started showing me naked pictures online, and unfortunately one thing led to another, and it's something that I battle with every day.
Yeah.
It's unlike other addictions that seem like you can get over it and never have to deal with it again. That's one of them that, especially nowadays, with everybody having a computer basically in their pocket that can connect to the internet, it's a much harder fight nowadays.
Yeah.
Way back, it would have been a lot easier, because you just don't go to the store to buy the material. Now it's all free on the internet. It's unfortunately a lot more easily accessed.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I've definitely constantly am overcoming.
Well, and I have not been bashful about mentioning my personal struggles with that here as well. And, a part of my story was being introduced to pornography around the age of 8. And it wasn't until I got in middle school that it really became a problem, but that was where the seed was planted.
Yep.
And we're talking about something so important in our experience as our sexuality, and something as natural as sex, that you kind of can't get away from it.
No, we can't get away from it nowadays. Think about everything in all media nowadays. What sells movies? What sells soda nowadays? Mm-hmm. What sells? Pick your industry. Sex sells. It does.
Yeah, and the only way you can get away from it is if you're someone who is asexual, where you just don't have those biological responses.
I would argue that even they're not immune to it. They're just less prone to it.
But it
still affects them, because they're just like, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some people that are asexual that are just like, man, we're seeing this stuff again. I am so tired of it. It affects everyone. Mm-hmm. It unfortunately does.
It does.
And American culture nowadays, it's too ingrained, and this could be a whole different other topic that we're probably not going to get into today. Marcus will later, but not today.
Yeah. But so. It is something where you can't really stamp it down. And so it is one of those things where we do just kind of wrestle with this on a daily basis. And I totally get that struggle, and I know how hard it is. And yeah, if anyone out there has wrestled with the same thing, you are so not alone in that regard.
Best piece of advice: talk to someone about it. It's not going to make it go away. It makes it easier, because I've found that when when I'm in the dark place and there's no light, there's no one for me to talk to about something. That's when it seems to fester and grow, and the dark things like to grow in dark places. So if any sort of light is shed on it, talking about it with someone, I can't say that it's going to break the hold, but it'll loosen it a little bit.
It definitely takes the power away.
Yeah. Well, something else in my life that I've overcome. Another thing that it's not super apparent is my family didn't grow up, or I didn't grow up with. I would say that we were middle class, but we were probably on the lower side of middle class. So like we had friends that would, they took yearly vacations. They got to go all over the place and all of this, and we occasionally went camping for a weekend, which is it's not a bad thing. Camping is not bad. Camping is great. It's a lot of fun, and it's relatively inexpensive. Mm-hmm. But there were so many different vacations that I know of that my dad didn't go with us because he had to work. He didn't get the time off to go on this vacation with us, and I was unfortunate. Very grateful that my parents did everything they could for us. They definitely put us kids first, and when they got their divorce, that was a huge benefit, that they always put us kids first. They didn't. I've heard of so many divorced couples nowadays who have kids that use the kids against each other and are constantly fighting over custody and all these. They use the kids as weapons. I am very grateful that my parents never did that. Like it's not a common thing. So me growing up like that, we were very lucky in that regard, that they didn't use us against each other. They never bad-mouthed each other in front of us until we got older, and adults. But yeah, it's. I'm glad that my parents didn't use us against each other.
Yeah, I've experienced both ends of that, where when my parents divorced, they were very careful to make sure that they didn't say anything bad about each other in front of us, just similar to you, until we were adults. But then I also have someone very close to me who went through a nasty divorce with his ex-wife, and I saw how often that they would just use their daughter as ammunition against each other, and it was terrible. It was so terrible, and it took like an impartial outside party to get them to understand, oh, we're all doing something bad. No one is truly like the epitome of a good parent in all of this.
Sad thing is, I bet deep down they knew exactly what they were doing.
Probably.
And they honestly didn't care, because the drive to win and beat the other person was more important than the well-being of the child who, once you have a kid, they are more important than you are. Full stop. If you have to choose between feeding your kid and having a luxury thing, you better feed your kid. If you have to choose between feeding yourself and feeding your kid, you better feed your kid. Shelter the kid. That personal opinion. It's probably there's a lot of people that also have that same opinion, but so many parents and divorced parents seem to not remember that particular piece. So, rant over. Mini rant over.
So, Ben.
Yes.
The next question that I have, since you've been jumping around so much here.
I keep if we go in order, I would be surprised. That's why we're not.
Yeah, exactly.
You know me.
And this is something that I do enjoy asking pretty much everyone that I interview, just so people can see all of these different aspects of hobbies, activities, or just life-giving things that they can do in their lives. And so what is something that you enjoy doing, that you just do, that you come to life while doing?
All right, Marcus, I'm going to turn this back on you. What do you think? Knowing me, it's games. That's an easy one. Games, card games, board games, video games, tabletop games. I enjoy games. I have a slight competitive nature, and it's
Sorry for those of you just listening, but there was a visual gag there.
Games. That's something that I enjoyed doing as a kid. Is we had family game night, where we'd sit. I mean, we lived out in the country, so there really wasn't anything else to do. But sitting around the table playing a game with the family was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. Unfortunately, when we got our first video game console, I unfortunately took up a lot of the time playing because I have an addictable personality, and Marcus has probably seen this, and everybody else that kind of knows me, when I find something that I enjoy, I jump in a little too hard and a little too fast. And so, getting the first video game console, I'm supposed to be sharing with my sisters, but I had a hard time because I didn't want to put it down. I would also get up late at night and play while everybody was asleep. Got up early in the morning so that I could play while everybody was asleep. There's a time I remember my mom and dad were firefighters, volunteer firefighters. They went out on a call and asked one of our neighbors to come and, just kind of stay at the house and make sure that we're okay while it was late at night. Well, they weren't back by 5 a.m, and I got up and decided to go turn on the TV and turn on the system and play like I would normally do, only to turn around after I turned everything on and saw our neighbor sleeping on our couch. I immediately turned everything back off and went back to my room. But no, it's all the games. I enjoy the interaction with the other people. I'm not single player games are great. And they're fun, but it's a lot more fun when you can experience it with someone else. I'm not much of the MMO kind of person, or the shooter, the multi
MOBAs.
I do not like the MOBAs.
For those of you who don't know, MOBAs are massive online battle arena games. You can think like Fortnite,
Call of Duty,
and those ones that I don't enjoy playing either.
It's mostly because of the culture. I enjoyed playing Halo on the 360 when Halo 3 was there, and I did a lot of that, and that was fun. But as soon as people could really start talking to each other and everybody was yelling at each other and all that, I lost interest in it really fast. But having someone sitting next to you and you're able to look at the same screen, or even you're playing in the same area on a call. We do constantly.
Every Tuesday we've been playing Borderlands 3 so far.
We've played other games too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We've played lots of other games.
Mm-hmm.
But having that extra, because it's fun to. One, it's always fun if you've played the game before, getting to see someone else's reaction to different things. It's also fun. Neither person playing the game and seeing something the first time going, "Oh my gosh, did you see that over there?" It's a lot of fun. And, being able to poke fun at the video games too, because, there's certain logic that you kind of have to poke fun at for a lot of these things, because otherwise none of their logic makes a lick of sense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that is something that I've always enjoyed is games. Most games I will enjoy playing. There are a very select few that I do not like. And amongst those are the MOBAs, the Call of Duties, Fortnites, and all that. I'll play with someone if they want me to. I'm not going to enjoy it. I hate Monopoly. Monopoly is the stupidest board game out there. You will not change my mind on that. You can try. You will not. Those are the ones that immediately come to my head. That it's like I just don't like them. Kid games, I don't care. I'll play with my niece a game of Candyland. It's fun. Why? Because they want to play. Yeah, I'll play with them. No problem.
What was that dice game that we would play at the dog salon?
Which one?
There was the one. I think it was for one of your birthdays. You guys would get like those tubes of
Tenzi.
Tenzi, yes, that's
Tenzi.
right. I remember enjoying playing Tenzi.
Do you know why it's called Tenzi?
Because you have 10 dice.
Yes, there you go. I don't know where the Z part comes, but it's because you start with 10 dice.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I've experienced that, and there is something really, really affirming about having a community to play these games with. And I am one of those people. I do love to play the single player games, and I just recently finished Metaphor Refantasio, and that was a great single player game to play and enjoy. But I also had Libby watching while I was playing, and so we were able to enjoy that together.
Yep.
And I was talking with this guy all the time because it's a game that he's going to enjoy as well.
Well, but you had to finish it so Libby could finish the new Final Fantasy game, so I can talk with her about that.
Yes, I know. You can see there's a lot of give and take in our.
No, it's all give, all take. Don't let him say otherwise.
Yeah, no.
Okay, another thing that I really enjoy doing. I enjoy making people laugh. I enjoy bringing joy to other people's lives, lifting them up, and all of that. So games are important, but also I said relationships earlier. Those are also very important. I like to keep them light. There are some times to be heavy, but if I can, I'm going to try to lighten people's moods the best I can.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
It really is. And I can't tell you how many times in our friend group, we will have like 3 or 4 of us that are constantly like, I hate that you said that joke because you got to it before I did.
Quick on the draw.
Yeah. But you have been the one saying that to some other people because someone else would get it.
Oh yeah, someone will get there too.
Yeah.
Oh, me and John, we constantly do that to each other. I've known him, besides my sister, he's the one I've known the longest in the Fellowship of the Dice. I went to high school with him, and have known him since I was a sophomore and he was a freshman. So I've known him for a long time, and we are getting to the point where we're very good friends. I would call us best friends, and we do. We could finish each other's sandwiches if we really wanted to. Sentences. Mm-hmm. We could finish each other's sentences if we really wanted to. And there are constant times where we'll be on the same brainwave and be like, "Hey, sorry, I got the joke first. Dang it! Why did you get to say it first? Because I was just about to say it." Do that with Marcus too a little bit and all of that. So
we're getting there.
We're getting there. But yeah, it's nice to be able to do that, to joke around with people. One of the things I do is when someone is feeling down, if it's not like my first instinct is always, okay, how can I make them crack a smile? Is that always the best thing to do? No, but it's always my first instinct. And when you're upset, there's nothing. I don't see anything wrong with cracking a joke. Oh, sorry, I'm very sorry. Your father just died. Your parent just died. I'm going to try to bring some levity to the situation. Not joke about the death of the family member or something like that, but be like, haha, did you see such and such, how goofy was that? Or, something to almost take their mind off of it is I think what my intent is. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Depends on the person, depends on the situation. But yeah.
Now, this is outside of the normal question.
What? It's not on the list. You can't ask it.
Yes, I can.
Dang it. I tried.
So there is... I have not been shy about admitting where I am with my own faith and spiritual journey. And you've been one of those people that has been so gracious in allowing me to ask the questions.
Yep. I don't always have the answers, but I will let you ask the questions.
Yes. And oftentimes that's honestly what someone like me needs. Mm-hmm. And so since I do feel like a lot of times I'm really bashing against Christians because of my own experience with them. And I am curious, for you, how important do you see your own faith in your everyday life?
It's a great question, Marcus. Not one I was prepared to answer today.
You weren't prepared for any of these.
They don't need to know that. Just because... Marcus, stop giving away the secrets. Gosh. No, my day-to-day life, it's fairly important. Would I say I'm the most religious person out there? No. By any means, no, I'm not. I have my share of struggles and everything, but it's one of the things that to me is different than a lot of other people is there's a lot of people I know that if they're religious in any sorts, typically Christianity, there's always you pray right before bed. That's when you do your praying. You pray for dinner, you pray before bed. Those are seem to be the two times a lot of people pray. And I've learned over the years that that's not my style. To me, prayer is it's just communicating with God. And I always see it as an open communication. It's one of those, imagine, your phone's on and it's just always on. So why would I only use it 2 times a day when I can be in a constant dialogue? The comm line's always open. So just it's constant use, constant prayer. And then I'm also not a vocal prayer. I'm a very internal person. So I internalize a lot of things, and prayers are one of them, because I fully believe God knows our mind. And so if I pray inside my head, that's still prayer. I'm not vocalizing it, but it's still prayer to me. Mm-hmm. Which is not everybody has that same thought on it.
Yeah. And while Libby and I have gone through a rather extensive deconstruction process of our faith, one of the things that I have been able to appreciate is not just yours, because you're not the only Christian friend that I have.
You got at least 2 others.
Yeah, at least 2 others. But seeing that you guys literally take your faith seriously. Mm-hmm. That is something that has always stood out to me more about you and Katie and Brandon, is I have seen more and more that it's this is something that you guys do take very seriously. And I know that it's something that is important to you guys, and considering where I am, I absolutely honor and respect you guys for... we're recording this the day before Easter, and I've been given another invite to join them.
I do it very rarely.
But...
I promise. I'm not hounding him.
No, he's not. And I personally appreciate that, but kind of giving us the space to ask the questions, to kind of process, and at the same time not being afraid to talk about your own journey, what you're going through. It's I wait, honestly, I wish that there were more Christians like you
it's
guys.
very unfortunate that there are a lot of Christians out there that are first group that comes to my mind is the Westboro Baptist, who are very much in people's face and are very controversial. That's I've never felt that as the way to draw people in. I've felt that the best way is to live my life, the best way I can, following Scripture the best way I can. Am I going to do it perfectly all the time? No, I don't expect anybody to do it perfectly all the time. There's only one person who did, and the book's written about him. We're gonna be celebrating all that stuff tomorrow on Easter. But I don't expect anybody to be perfect. I don't, and unfortunately, there's a lot of Christians out there that also will hold everybody to the same standards that they're held to, and that they hold themselves to. Let me clarify, because well, I'm doing it, so you should be doing it too because I'm able to do it. No, that's no. Don't. One of the things that I've always found is in the Bible even is don't force people to do things. Like they will. The best way to do it is to come up alongside them and live life with them. We're called to show people how to live. We are not called to force people to live how we live. We don't. We are not supposed to force people. That is 100% wrong. I feel like you should show your faith and live out your faith, and that's what draws people in. And yeah, I wish there was more Christians like us too, because there's too many people out there that are all super judgy and all that, and it's really sad that one of the defining traits that if you ask most people, what's a defining trait of Christianity or Christians, they're judgy. Mm-hmm. Am I wrong?
No.
That's the first thing that comes to people's minds is we're judgy. Not all of us. A select amount of us. The vocal ones of us are probably the judge, are are seen as judgy, and there's a lot of us that we go out and we live life and we give back to the community and live in the community. That's what we're called to do. Is we're called to be the light to the world. We're not called to light the world on fire. That would be a very different book.
Yeah. And if I have the timeline right, you and I met in 2018, I think. Was that when you started the Nerd Herd, as we called ourselves?
Was it that or was it 2017? It was a while ago.
But Ben and I met at least a year before Libby and I started to deconstruct our faith, and we walked away from the church. And one of the things that I can say about Ben is he has constantly supported us through all of that. And you know what? Yeah, I do tend to have a lot of bad things to say about Christians, especially the very conservative right that we're seeing a lot in politics today.
Politics sucks. Every side sucks.
Yeah, it does. But my friendship with Ben has only flourished and grown even through my faith deconstruction, because he's just allowed me to be where I am, who I am, and he's accepted me for that.
Yep.
And I still accept him as the let's see, how have you described yourself?
I don't remember.
An addictive personality.
Flawed. We'll just say flawed. Just say flawed. I am a flawed individual, and I'm 100% okay with that.
Yeah. And we love and accept each other for where we're at, and it is I have so appreciated the friendship that we've been able to foster.
It's a good thing.
So, next question.
Yes.
What is a hero to you?
That's a deep rabbit hole.
You can go as deep as you want.
Oh gosh. So, yay! Anecdote time. Anecdote, whatever the word is. In high school, one of my favorite classes that I did was we called it Heroes in Literature. And it was kind of really funny when Marcus started doing all this. I mentioned that to him. He's like, all that information's great and all that. And so it's hard for me to define what a hero is, because whose definition of a hero are we going with? Because there's like, just in that class we went through, we had a paper that we would fill out on each hero that we did that would kind of quantify how good of a hero they were. And there's 5 different people that, based on their hero descriptions, we would go through. One of the ones that I'd have to pull it up again, I believe Campbell had I can't remember the guy's first name, but we called it the hero thing. He had 33 like statements that if they happened during the story, the more that happened during the story, the better of a hero they were. Which is kind of an interesting way of quantifying it, that all these hero stories have a lot of these similar traits. Like, not typically, you don't know much about their childhood. They marry a princess. They go on a hero's journey of some sort. Like, there's 33 different ones, and on average, the better heroes hit 25 of them. They don't get all of them, because nobody can get all of them, because that would be a very boring story if they hit every one of them and there were no flaws.
Yeah.
But then there's also the hero's journey, like this cyclical journey that we would also talk about. I don't remember who. I unfortunately can't find my notebook from 10, 15 years ago that had all this information in it.
Well, you mean you don't hold on to all that stuff?
No, I probably passed it on to someone else, because that's what we did in that class. It had the same, every year was just about the same information. Just if you had a Heroes in Lit notebook, you passed it to someone in the next class, and they passed it, so they had all the information. It was a great way of doing it. But there's like a hero's journey where, you start off really good, then you kind of have this fall from grace, and you hit rock bottom, and that's when you start to climb up out of it, and you get back up on top. Insert Greek hero here, and every one of them does this. Hercules, born of a god, Zeus's son. Hera hates him. Disney got that wrong. Hera hates Hercules. That's why he's called Heracles. But he gets into trouble, kills his wife and kids. Bottom. Well, to get back up out of there, that's where Hercules does his 12 labors, the 12 labors of Hercules. That helps him get back up on top. Unfortunately, he does it again and has to do some other things. But that's one of the easy ones for me to define there, with that whole hero's path, where they've got this almost cyclical path to them. So for me, a hero, it varies situation to situation.
Yeah.
A hero to me is someone who tries to do what's right, no matter what everybody else is saying. So that's a very broad definition, but it's the best way I can to describe everyone that I would consider a hero. They do, and here's where it gets very subjective. is they do what they think is right. Unfortunately, there are some people that do what they think is right that is not right. I'm not saying they're heroes. To some people, they might be. But in general, if you're trying to do what's right for the right reasons, not for the wrong reasons, because there are people that do the right thing for the wrong reasons, they're not heroes, they're manipulative. If you're doing the right things, like sticking up for your morals. If you stick up for your morals, no matter what society says, in my opinion, you're a hero. Are you going to be a great hero like the Greek heroes or comic book hero? Probably not. But you'll still change something in the world, even if it's just one other person's mind, one other person's opinion. That can still be a heroic feat. So,
well, and this also came up when I was interviewing our friend Dan as well. Just that whole thing about, a hero based on whose perspective. I will once again refer back to the protagonist versus antagonist discussion, where an antagonist...
Antagonists or protagonists of their own story.
Exactly. And so heroes come in all sorts of different flavors and forms, and it doesn't change that for these people they are heroes in their own stories. But at the same time, what they're trying to do can be antagonistic to what we're trying to do towards society, and it's a complicated area.
Unfortunately, I've learned, sometimes the hard way, but I've learned over the years, you're never going to be able to please everyone.
No.
No matter what you do, you can do the right thing, and there will be people that hate you for it. Yep. That's life. Life is not fair. Life was never meant to be fair. And all of that. So you could be doing great. You could be doing Mother Teresa level good works, good things in the world. Does everybody like Mother Teresa? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
There are people that do not like Mother Teresa. Gandhi. Most people would agree that Gandhi was a net positive for the world. Does everybody like Gandhi? Nope. Just insert other influential people.
Thinking like Dalai Lama,
yep.
Mandela.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Nowadays, social influencers. Does everybody like social influencers? Nope.
You and I shake our heads.
Do some of them do good things? Yes. Some of them are doing good things. Can I name them off the top of my head? No, because I don't care about that stuff. But there are some people out there doing good things. And some of them doing it for the right reasons. Some of them doing it for the wrong reasons. So, yeah, that's a hero in a nutshell. Do what's right no matter what people say.
And since we are talking about heroes, who is someone that for you is an influential hero in your life, whether they are fictional or non-fictional?
Okay, let me get the churchy answer out first. Jesus. Striving to be like him is what every Christian should do. And he did some very great things. I would say he's a net positive in the world. Is everybody else going to agree with that? No. But that is my opinion. I'm allowed to have my opinions.
Absolutely.
Whether they're right or wrong, they're mine. I don't care what you think. That's something else I've learned. Don't yeah, not in my personal so that I have actually interacted with, there's a lot of people I would define as a hero in my life. There was one teacher, his name called him Mr. Webb. He was my geometry teacher. I was very much a slacker in high school. I was very smart, but very much a slacker. And there was one day where we took a test online, and he called me over and said, "Hey, look, this test said you should be acing my class with a 98%, and you're sitting at a 43. Buck up." Kind of kicked me into, I mean, did it in a nice way, but kind of got me to think like, okay, I should be taking this kind of seriously. Didn't want to, but I started doing better from that point on. And there were a few other teachers that were very much like that, where the Heroes in Lit class that I mentioned, Mrs. Warner, everyone said she was the hardest teacher in the school when I went to school. But she was probably the best to actually get you thinking and to push you and all of that, which is great, was greatly appreciated, because she always knew that you could do better than what you did. Another person, I mentioned Justin Porter. He's been a big influence for me. My mom and dad, it's easy to call them that. Those are all the ones that are coming like to the forefront. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people out there. Like, I will always say anyone in the emergency services will always be a hero, because they're putting their life out there for, you know what, there's a lot of people that do not appreciate that. They don't appreciate the firefighters. They don't appreciate the EMTs, the ambulance personnel, doctors, nurses. Controversial one, the police. Mm-hmm. They're still out there doing their best in an emergency situation. Are they getting it right all the time? No, I will say that no, they shouldn't, and they should be held accountable when they, fail. But there's still some respect that is need to be given there, because they are out there doing a very difficult job, a very dangerous job. So they're, yeah. So those are definitely heroes in now, current day heroes.
Awesome. Is there anything in particular that you just kind of want to leave with the audience? Like an important thing that you wish I would have brought up?
That's a great question, and
I should probably add that to my list of questions.
Yeah, that should be number 7, along with the other 15 you asked me. If you have any questions, please contact Marcus, and he will do his best to ignore the question. No. If there's any questions, reach out to him, and he'll reach out to me, and we'll try to answer them. I've got no problem with that. I have no problem answering questions. Here's something that I will like to end on. I will never claim that I know everything. I have no problem admitting that I don't. I have no problem saying, "Hey, I don't know the answer to that question. Let's go find out. Let's investigate that. Either we both do it, or I'll do it, or we'll do it together, or something like that." Done that several times with everyone. I've done that with you a few times,
myself included.
Especially while you were questioning your faith, and you'd ask me questions like, "I don't know, let's go find out."
Mm-hmm.
What, you don't know that, Ben? No, I don't know everything.
No.
If I knew everything, I wouldn't be here.
You were very specific in the beginning, where you said, "I'm probably not going to have all the answers, but I will definitely look into them." And a lot of times I would pose a question and you just go over to Justin Porter.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And surprisingly, some of them, he would have to be, "Let me get back to you." Mm-hmm. I always appreciate that. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to fail. Do not be afraid to say you don't know. Because if you know everything, life is boring. If you know everything, you're lying to yourself, because there's always something you don't know. Even scientists nowadays are still learning things that they thought they knew. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, when I was growing up, what was the smallest part? When you were in high school, what was the smallest part of matter?
It was always like electrons.
Electrons, protons, neutrons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now they've got quarks, which are even smaller than. That was after I got into college, and then now they're getting even smaller and smaller than that, and they're finding new stuff, new building blocks and all that. So everybody's learning. If you know everything, you need to write a book and says here's absolutely everything, and if it's not bigger than the Earth, then you're a liar.
That's a great way to put it, and I can't tell you how much I needed to hear just the get out there, try, and even fail. Because
too many people are afraid to fail nowadays.
Well, and this is
I'm even afraid to fail sometimes.
And this is no joke. Last night, Libby and I were sitting down to watch some YouTube and watch some more Doctor Who. And instead of playing a game, which is what I'd usually do, because I'd already played a randomizer as like my cleansing game from finishing Metaphor, I had one of the art books that I got for my birthday last year from my in-laws and have not used. And I had it on my lap with a pencil. And I can't tell you how many times I would put that pencil down and I was going to start doing something and then I'd pick it up. And you know what? Something interesting is happening in Doctor Who right now. But when I really checked in with myself, I was just afraid of making that first mark, because while I'm doing this, a little behind the scenes thing here, what I'm wanting to do is like create an illustration or just a drawing of the character that I'm going to play for the campaign that Ben's going to run us through after we finish Tyranny of Dragons. And Libby has a sketch of her character. And I would sit there with this blank paper and a pencil in my hand, and all I'd have to do is look down to see where Libby's picture was, and I would always look at it and be like, I'm not going to be able to draw it as well as that. And I would just, I can't tell you how many times I'd start and give up, because I need to not be so afraid of it not looking the way that I want it to, of failing, if that's the word that we want to use. I just need to do it. That's the only way it's going to happen, and it's the only way I'm going to get better, is if I just do it.
You touched on another thing that I didn't realize I wanted to mention. Sometimes comparing yourself to others is okay. Don't. Because there's always going to be someone better. Just realize you might be good at something. There's always going to be someone better. You might not know them, but there will be. And if you're afraid of that sort of thing, of, someone being better than you, you're never going to do anything. So always be the best you can be. That's a big thing is don't compare. If you do compare yourselves to compare what you want to have, like, compare. Don't compare like what you are now. Compare to where you want to be. Don't compare, oh yeah, my drawing looks like garbage and yours looks great, so I'm obviously not very good. No, it's like, oh, yours is good, I'm just starting. That's what I eventually want it to look like. I eventually want to get where my drawing looks like that. I eventually want to get where my athletic ability is like yours. I want to get to where all this, because if you just compare yourself to where you are now to other people, a lot of people will get discouraged. And that's when a lot of people give up, quit, fail, or even don't try. And how many times have you heard I don't want to try because I might not be good at it. I don't want to try because what if I fail? I won't be good at it from the very get-go. Of course not. If you are just picking up an instrument for the first time, I'm not expecting you to go play in the symphony. No, that's like decades down the road. No, I'm expecting you to learn. I don't expect you to be a professional jazz player the first time you pick up a saxophone. That would be completely unreasonable. But there's a lot of people that think that way.
Yeah.
And
how many times, and this is just for you guys listening, how many times have you heard me say that if you're comparing yourself to someone else, it's always going to be an unfair comparison? That is something...
I haven't heard you say that yet. I haven't heard those podcasts, apparently, so...
But that is even something that I still need to work on. Because as Ben was saying, if you're comparing yourself to someone, you're always going to find someone who's better than you. You're always going to find someone who's doing worse than you. And in one regard, it's going to prevent you from wanting to try. In the other, it's going to make it so that...
You're going to have a large ego.
Yeah, your ego is going to get so big you can't even squeeze through the door of your house. So it is something, I have said that to a lot of clients. I believe I've said it more than once on this podcast, and it is still something that I have to wrestle with and something that I'm still trying to reconcile, because that imposter syndrome comes in so powerfully in my life.
Oh, there's a lot of people that I think need to hear what I just heard.
Oh, yeah.
Said, so.
Absolutely. If I needed to hear it, then I know there's other people who needed it too.
Even I need to hear that on occasions. Because I know there's times where it's like, I don't want to do that because I'm afraid I'm going to fail at it, but it's becoming less and less important for me to succeed at absolutely everything. It's a lot of fun to get in. As a youth leader, it's a lot of fun to get into the mess with the kids, and I don't care if I'm doing it right. I'm going to do it and have fun. Mm-hmm. Sometimes doing it is what's important and not being good at it.
And, oh man, that's what I need to remind myself of. Because I think about when I first started playing D&D with you, I think it was like the third or the fourth session, in my mind, I felt like I barely had a grasp on the rules. And then that's when Ben comes over to me and he's like, hey, Marcus, you seem to be doing pretty well with like the game system and the rules and everything. What would you think about running your own table? Because again, the group was getting so big, it was getting unmanageable. And in my mind, I'm like, I barely understand the rules. Sure, let's go. Let's just do this. We'll just jump right on in. And you know what? It has been a fun adventure.
Can I tell them a secret?
Go for it.
I don't know everything either.
And that has been very fun for me to, like, on the fly be like, you know what? I don't know what the rule is for that. Let's go and look it up, or come up with a house rule on it. And yet, when I think about doing other creative things like my writing and my drawing, I forget that. I forget that. And it's like I need to allow myself to play. I need to allow myself to have fun, like I've been doing with all these tabletop role playing games.
Another good piece of advice, and I don't remember who I heard this from. If you're going to do something artistic or anything, like if you're going to do anything, do it for you. Don't do it for other people. Don't expect like great fanfare once you've started doing it. Do it because you want to do it. Don't do it because it's expected of you, or don't do it expecting fame and notoriety out of it. Don't start writing a story and expect it to be the next insert literary
New York Times bestseller.
Yeah, it's not going to be it won't be. Sorry, very few people get their first book on the New York Times bestsellers. I can't think of anybody who has.
I can't think of anyone who has either.
It's a very rare occasion when it does. Usually they go through 7 or 8 books before one gets onto the bestsellers. But yeah, no, if you're going to do anything, don't do it expecting people to... don't do it with others' opinions on your mind. Do it because you want to do it. And then people will either enjoy it or they don't. And guess what? Don't care, because you did it for you. Write the story that you want to write, not because, oh, it's going to be the next bestseller. It's because you want to write it. Don't go paint a painting because it's going to be the next Van Gogh. Paint it because that's how you were feeling. That's what you wanted to paint at the time. If you're going to get into a martial art, don't get into it because it's the new cool thing to do. Do it because, you know, you want the health benefits or the discipline or that sort of thing. Insert whatever here. So.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, thank you so much for coming and joining me for this.
Glad to be here this time.
What, like you haven't been glad to be here all these other times?
Oh, no, just for the second take.
Just for the second take,
yeah.
Gotcha. First take, yeah, you don't want to be a part of that one. But
it'll be on the Patreon.
Yeah. But I have gleaned so much from this conversation, and I hope you, my friend, have gleaned just an abundant treasure trove from just this talk that I've had with Ben. And I'm looking forward to interviewing someone else in the next one. In fact, you know who this person is. You're related to her.
My mom?
Your sister. So I just want to again say thank you so much. This has been a true delight, and now I'm looking forward to watching some Bleach and playing some games before we go play some more Exalted with our friends. So thank you again. And if you guys do have any questions about
if you have any questions, put them down in the description in the question box down below, and he may or may not get to them.
If you have any questions about what we've been talking about here, you're welcome to send me questions or ideas for future hero studies to questions.btcpod@gmail.com, and I would love to engage with you. And until next time, you guys, live strong for today.
Like, comment, and subscribe.